Hey everybody, welcome to What the Flick. I'm Matt, that's Alonzo, that's Christy. Christy is a mother, so they're gonna talk about mother. I'm not a mother, so I didn't see it.
But you should though, just to have the conversation.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know, I gotta tell you, like I've heard the buzz about it and I'm not that interested in it, and it was somewhat a weird relief that Paramount wouldn't get back to me. But whatever.
Mother effers at Paramount.
Exactly.
It's worth seeing just to have the conversation because I don't think anyone's going to agree on this, and that's kind of part of why our job is fun. This is the kind of movie that makes our job fun. So I'm gonna try to describe to you what Mother's about. Mother, which has been in my head all week, and now it's yours. Hopefully, go look up the Danzig video. It's very Beavis and Butthead. So Jennifer Lawrence has no name. Nobody in this movie has a name because Darren Aronofsky wants us to relate to them all. We're all mother, I don't know, something like that. Anyway, Jennifer Lawrence and Javier Bardem are married, and he's a lot older than she is, and he's a poet. And they live in this beautiful house in the middle of nowhere, surrounded by a beautiful bucolic meadow. And she's helping to renovate it, and he's trying to write. And then one day, Ed Harris shows up and he thinks it's a bed and breakfast allegedly, and then his wife shows up, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. They also have no names. And then a lot more people show up and then shit gets real. Take a look.
We spend all our time here. I want to make a paradise.
Please, come in. Hello.
Hello. He's a stranger. We're just gonna let him sleep in our house. Hello.
Hello.
Did you know he had a wife? He has pictures of you in his luggage.
What were you doing in their luggage?
You give and you give and you give.
You bring up the Danzig song, I keep thinking of the Police song on Synchronicity.
Thank you, that's what I said.
Terrible,
that awful song that Andy, yes.
Right.
I'm not saying the Danzig song is good, I'm just saying it's been in my head for like a week.
Fair enough.
All right, go ahead.
I don't even know how to talk about this movie.
Let's talk about this.
Well, no, here's the thing. Some of you out there get very sensitive about spoilers. Like if we said, I remember we said the words General Leia when we were talking about Force Awakens. I was like, spoiler. So if you're that triggered by any information about what's happening in this movie, you might stop now because there's no way to talk about this movie without talking about this movie.
Although I think it's safe to say that really intense stuff happens.
Yes.
And unpredictable stuff happens and it escalates, I would say.
Yes.
And
stylistic,
I can say that.
People have maybe been thrown off by the billboards that are very much aping the original ad campaign for Rosemary's Baby. This movie is not a remake of that. It does not really touch on that as much, but there is a lot of Roman Polanski here. There's a lot of Repulsion. There's a lot of The Tenant. There's a lot of Rosemary's Baby. That sort of escalating tension of people behaving in a way that doesn't make sense and you can't control them and you can't stop them and they won't go away. It has that feeling of a nightmare where nothing quite makes sense and everyone else seems to know what's going on around you and you're like, wait, what? No, stop doing that. What are you doing?
And also you don't know what's real and what's happening in Jennifer Lawrence's head, right? I think they're trying to suggest that perhaps a lot of this is the manifestation of her internalized paranoia. I mean, I think what happens is so bizarre and so inexplicable that perhaps you can interpret it as the manifestation of her own nightmares or insecurities or whatever, because the relationship between her and her husband is like strained from the start in ways you can't put a finger on, right? And the people who come only illuminate that further. They drive more of a rift between them. And so I wonder if we are intended to interpret this perhaps as her insecurity, her paranoia versus like really legitimately
actual
what's
bizarre
here.
behavior.
I'm guessing, I don't know.
And there's a lot of intense close-ups of
her eyes,
of her that are meant to be sort of off-putting. And there's the sound designer for this movie
is exquisite.
Like,
the house, I hate to say the house is a character. The house is a character and it has indigestion. Because it is like grumbling like from the deepest depths of itself and like groaning beyond just like haunted house scares, creaks and moans.
It's bleeding.
So the sound design is, it's incredible. And you can feel it too. Like there are moments where toward the end, as it reaches its climax,
Right.
like my butt was vibrating. Like that's how.
There's a poster quote for you.
Make that into a meme. But it's true. Like,
Careful what you ask for, Christy. Oh my God.
With each wave of what happens,
Sure.
what I will say,
No.
you feel it underneath.
Yeah, there
you.
is like this escalating tension.
be so
I
sorry.
think this is, I mean, they're kind of marketing this as a horror movie, and I think it's really more of a very dark comedy.
Well, that was Tony Scott's take on it in his
Yeah?
review. Like,
Okay,
he's
I
like,
read
this
it.
movie's hilarious.
It is. I was laughing quite a bit because it becomes you are stuck with Jennifer Lawrence, who is just like helpless as things get more and more chaotic around her, and it just does become this sort of absurd, like Samuel Beckett level kind of like what's happening.
Is
That,
it
but also it's
intentionally
sort of thing.
funny, do you think?
Yes,
I don't know.
I think so.
And I feel like the laughs come from a place of like needing to laugh to break the
tension,
It's,
yes.
you have to release this feeling that you can't explain in some way. And so because it is absurd, yes, there is laughter. Having said that, I'm not sure that any of this is as important as Darren Aronofsky A, thinks it is, and B, wants you to think it is.
The thing is, like, as I was watching it, I was running through a lot of different interpretations of what this was supposed to be about. Is it about the creative process? Is it about, the emotional labor of women, to maintain the fragile egos of men, that kind of thing?
Is it about the world we live in now?
Is it about the world
That
we live in
too.
now? Yeah, I mean, there are a lot of metaphors swimming around, and then I think I kind of landed on the big one that this movie is trafficking in. And once I figured that one out, I didn't like the movie as much because thinking about it backwards, I was like, oh, so this is that, and that is this, and this means this, and this represents that. Oh, and that's less fun, frankly, because once you land on that thing, it reduces the entire movie to this sort of, you see the gears, you see what Aronofsky's doing, and he's doing it all kind of obviously.
And we have seen that before, yes. But having said that, prior to this movie starting, we all received this very important statement.
Yeah, which I didn't read. You read it.
Oh, I do whatever Darren Aronofsky tells me to do. I'm like, you told me to read
He's
this
not
thing,
the
I'm gonna
boss of
read
me.
it.
He's not going to make me read his
I
statement.
will do whatever you say, Darren Aronofsky.
What was the statement?
It was about how these are mad times in which we live, and it's about ecology and the political process, and just like the state of frustration that we all find ourselves in now. And granted, he wrote this 2 years ago. Right, so this is before the president that we currently have.
times, yeah.
Yes, but I guess they were bubbling up and they were in his psyche, and it was also a response to being in downtown and Lower Manhattan during Hurricane Sandy, and so a lot of things were going on with him, and it poured forth from him as a fever dream.
Well, it is
And
a
that's
fever
what the movie
dream.
is too.
It is
That's
a
what the
fucking
movie is.
fever dream.
Yeah,
no
so
question. They gave us a statement on the way in and a poem on the way out.
Yeah.
It's like, stop it, Darren
Folks,
Aronofsky.
yeah.
Let your just movie be. I don't want your Dune glossary.
But
Sorry, they wouldn't let me put the title cards in the movie, but I'm gonna do handouts.
right, the characters don't get names.
Yeah, mind you.
But we get a poem. No, I mean from a craft.
Was it about the man from Nantucket?
Purely from a craft
Poured out of him.
perspective, you should see this. Right, Matthew Libatique shot it, his usual DP.
Yeah.
Again, the sound design's exquisite. As a sensory experience,
Yeah.
as a film that is unlike anything else out there right now. You should
Yes.
find it. It's gorgeous and unsettling, and it will change your mood and make you think and talk. So from that perspective, you should see it. But I don't know that it is that profound as he wants it to be.
It's not super deep, but yeah, it's worth seeing. You're right, to have experienced it, to talk about it with other people. Think of it this way: this is not from Darren Aronofsky, the director of The Wrestler. This is from Darren Aronofsky, the director of The Fountain,
Yeah.
and Noah.
We should start calling him Darrenovsky though.
Aronofsky, he has his own portmanteau just to save time.
It's
Hey,
true.
listen, as one who has one, match it.
That's true.
Awesome.
Yeah.
But it's true because you see glimmers of the batshit crazy Aronofsky in Black Swan. You
Sure.
kind of see it to an extent in The Wrestler, in just the obsessive, driven nature of that character. But as far as just departing from reality entirely, yes, this is much more in line with The Fountain.
Yeah.
And I also say Requiem for a Dream.
Oh,
Which
yeah,
is
yeah,
a movie
yeah.
that I'm not sure I never need to see again.
Nope.
And I'm not sure I ever need to see this again, but I'm wowed by them both emotionally in a way that most films don't have that effect.
I still like Pi. I thought his first
Right.
film.
Pi was
Pi
terrific,
great.
yeah.
So there's a through line with them of like characters who are driven, characters who are obsessed, and whether or not they can fit into the world, right? I mean, Javier Bardem has pulled them away from society in this like intentionally isolated house in the middle of nowhere. We don't know what time this takes place. I mean, there are phones that hang on walls with cords.
Right.
But as far as
there's an old Home Alone furnace.
Yeah. I mean, you don't see.
There's
you
no
don't
laptops.
See cars. I think at one point. Oh yeah, we should mention Michelle Pfeiffer really fast. Michelle Pfeiffer shows a smartphone at one point.
Yes, she does. Michelle
Pfeiffer
is
vamping it up.
On fire in this movie.
Yeah.
Not since, what was that, What Lies Beneath?
Yes.
Has she just been this sort of unleashed.
It's really
fun to watch.
It's fun, it's vampy, it's knowing, it's funny. I mean, if we're talking about whether or not this movie is funny, Michelle Pfeiffer, like there's an eye roll she does alone that is funny. And she and Ed Harris bring like a creepy sense of tension and malice to it, and you can't put a finger on it. And Donald Gleason and his brother, Brian, you have multiple Gleasons here. It's weird. It's weird, and you should see it.
You should see it, and if you don't like it, don't complain to us because we tried to warn you. But you should see it because you will not leave going, oh, well, I've seen that before.
Right. In a world where everything is a remake or a comic book movie or a sequel, like this is, for all of its derivative nature, it is in its own way unique and startling.
It's a big studio art house film, and we don't get a lot of those.
Being released by not since what?
Not since Noah.
Which I like Noah. Noah's nutty. Noah's also about a driven, obsessive freak. Anyway, so please go see it. Poor Jennifer Lawrence. She goes through so much here. I'm giving it a 7.5.
7.8. I mean, there are things. The further away I get from it, the less impressed I am with it. But the act of seeing it was undeniably fascinating.
Yes. So our number is 7.7. It is at 78% on the tomato meter. I'm actually kind of amazed that a big studio like Paramount is releasing this wide this weekend because it's so weird and so divisive.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Is that what
Jennifer
it is?
Lawrence.
Yeah.
Also, if you look at Paramount's last couple of years, they can't do anything worse than put this out. I mean,
I guess
they've had some stunningly shitty movies.
But it's the kind of movie that I would expect that maybe would get like a New York, LA release and then platforms spread the word about like, ooh, have you seen Mother? You've got to see Mother.
Or maybe it's let's release it quick because once word of mouth gets out, people are like, what the fuck was that?
Or maybe they were going to platform it's like, well, shit, I can't do any worse than Baywatch did.
All right.
No, actually, Paramount, they just hit the festivals with this and Suburbicon and Downsizing, all of which were taken with varying degrees of whatever, but that's, they're trying something interesting with cool filmmakers.
It's daring stuff. There you go. So
Daring
go
Aronofsky.
see it. Bye.